This is not just a criminal conviction. This now goes into the political sphere and the fallout to come from this. Donald Trump is running for president. How is this going to affect him on the campaign trail? I mean, we saw him come out today and declare that he, in his words, is a very innocent man, declaring this as a, rigged.
House Republicans are attempting to assist Donald Trump in evading criminal charges through questionable means. Led by Representative William Timmons, GOP House leaders recently proposed a plan that influenced the Supreme Court to intervene in Trump's legal affairs. The resolution aims to prompt the Supreme Court to intervene in Trump's state conviction on 34 counts of business fraud, a move aligned with the MAGA movement's goals.
At the same time, he is going to use this conviction, 34 felony counts, to rally his base and to say to the Republican Party that in his view, he was wrongly convicted and he needs them to stand by him ahead of the Republican National Convention, which is just around the time he will be getting this prison sentence. This is a surreal moment for American politics and American democracy. You're going to have a presumptive Republican nominee enter the convention as a convicted.
In May, CBS News forecasted this development. Now, Trump is leveraging his conviction to mobilize his supporters. Although William Timmons may not be a household name, the resolution he's leading puts into writing the sentiments many House Republicans have been privately discussing as an alternative to more pragmatic defense strategies proposed by other conservatives.
Timmons, and I approve this message.
We need warriors in Congress who are willing to fight to secure our border and stop the flow of illegal drugs and criminals into this country. That's why President Trump endorsed William Timmons.
Congressman William Timmons has been a fantastic warrior for our country. Another warrior that's with you and very successful, William Timmons. Thank you, William.
Despite his official website claiming he ran for Congress to improve government for the American people, Representative Timmons' introduction of this bill reveals his true intention: to manipulate the government in favor of Trump. Contrary to congressional tradition, Timmons' resolution interferes with judicial proceedings, specifically Trump's state case in New York. As an election to near, Timmons' proposal is mere political theater, continuing the Republican trend of prioritizing political maneuvers over legislative actions that benefit the public. This move exemplifies House Republicans' focus on serving their political interests over the people's.
Immediate aftermath of Trump's conviction on 34 felony counts in his New York trial, he called Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, and told him, quote, "We have to overturn this." And of course, it didn't prove especially difficult to convince Mike Johnson, who was one of a number of Republicans lining up behind their God King during his trial, to do what he couldn't, namely to attack the judge and witnesses and to try to undermine the trial itself.
House Republicans expect a vote on Timmons' controversial bill, which they believe will gain unanimous party support. The bill suggests Timmons lacks understanding of the judicial system or aims to weaponize it. If passed, it would allow presidents to transfer state charges to federal court, a provision gaining Republican support.
Was instrumental in moving forward a bill authored by Republican Congressman Russell Fry that would allow presidents charged at the state level to move those cases to federal court. In other words, it would effectively neuter the state's abilities to prosecute federal officials, namely the president, which is absolutely the right of those states.
Representative William Timmons of South Carolina won a close primary battle in June, thanks to Trump's endorsement. Now, Timmons is repaying that political debt by arguing that the Supreme Court has the authority to intervene in Trump's legal case. Notably, Timmons has recently faced media scrutiny over allegations of infidelity in his personal life.
She's actually a much better attorney than I am, and she has sacrificed just so much over the last few years for my service in Congress and my service in the military, and I just really regret anything I've ever done to let her down.
Representative Timmons has filed a resolution urging Supreme Court intervention in Trump's case, despite lacking a constitutional or federal law basis. His resolution wrongly claims federal constitutional issues in Trump's conviction, which is a state law violation. Timmons misapplies legal principles, using terms like lawfare and zombie cases to sway public opinion. This resolution appears driven by politics, not a genuine concern for constitutional rights. House Republicans, including Speaker Mike Johnson, support this move, turning a blind eye to justice.
saying, quote, "In my experience so far, the more House members have heard about it, the more comfortable they are with it. It is not a unique concept." How about that? More and more Republicans in the House are comfortable now with the concept of Donald Trump not facing accountability in state court just days after he was found guilty of 34 criminal charges. Shocker, huh? Which, of course, closely aligns with Jim Jordan's
Timmons' bill urges the Supreme Court to expedite the process, citing the upcoming presidential election, a clear attempt to politicize the judicial system. This move aligns with Donald Trump, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and Representative Byron Donalds' persistent calls for Supreme Court intervention. Even if the bill fails, it serves as a symbolic gesture of loyalty to Trump, allowing House Republicans to demonstrate their obedience. This political maneuvering distracts from the pressing issues facing the country, highlighting their focus on personal politics over the nation's well-being.
Let's talk about that contrast. President Biden and you have both warned that democracy is at stake in this election. That if Trump wins the second term, women's rights will continue to be decimated. That international alliances will be frayed, that's to say the least. That your work, rebuilding the middle class, will be destroyed. That rights for minorities will be rolled back.
Trump's team is dedicated to fighting for his personal interests, neglecting the needs of their fellow citizens. Following his criminal conviction in New York in May, his legal team swiftly began preparing appeals to overturn the verdict. Despite their efforts, the likelihood of success is minimal, and it is almost certain that Trump will remain a convicted felon by November. The appeal relies on either procedural misconduct or new evidence, neither of which applies in this case. The focus on personal legal battles underscores Trump's skewed priorities. Fortunately, sentencing is scheduled for July 11th, marking a step towards accountability.
Trump says he connects with black voters, now especially because of his felony conviction.
He got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against.
He also says that he's not a racist because he has a lot of black friends.
Trump's appeal process will extend beyond the election, likely spanning several months. Although Judge Merchan may sentence him to prison, Trump will probably remain free on bail and may receive probation due to the least serious felony conviction under New York law. While Trump's freedom may be frustrating, the likelihood of overturning the verdict is low, as most appeals are denied. Predictably, the defense will argue that the trial's timing and location were unfair, but this claim is unlikely to succeed given the widespread recognition of Trump. Any claims of unfairness due to the election timeline are also unfounded, as the verdict came 6 months before the election and the defense controlled the timing. Trump's legal team made strategic mistakes, further weakening their appeal.
What Trump's lawyers said back in April about whether a commander-in-chief could get away with murder.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
House Speaker Mike Johnson's motion, similar to Timmons, urging the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Trump's conviction, is unlikely to succeed. The Supreme Court lacks jurisdiction since there are no federal violations or issues involved. As a federalist state, the Supreme Court cannot review or overturn the New York Court of Appeals rulings on state law interpretations. Fortunately, our judicial system operates on a different principle. The Supreme Court primarily handles cases from lower federal courts or state cases involving federal constitutional laws. Given Trump's charges are solely related to state laws with no federal implications or constitutional violations, the congressional call for Supreme Court intervention is unusual and legally unfounded. Nevertheless, they will likely continue to frame the case as a constitutional issue.
So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant. And I really think that this is an event, what took place yesterday with this judge. Look, we have conflicted, but he's a crooked judge. And you'll understand that. Because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution.
May GA Congress members' actions will likely undermine public trust in the judicial and legislative branches' impartiality and independence. I agree with Brian Taylor Cohen's assessment, and it's crucial to hold officials accountable to maintain the integrity of our institutions.
Remind Republicans that it's them who quite literally have spent years expressing the importance of states' rights, only now to demand that states shouldn't have any autonomy to exercise their criminal laws, and that instead they should be delegated to the federal government. But hey, anything to protect dear leader, even if it means discarding every shred of principles or values that they...
This resolution, deemed unlikely to sway the Supreme Court, may still rally Trump's campaign. Is it an abuse of legislative power or a legitimate response to political prosecution? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more videos.